What is good, y'all? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where we are trying to train up warriors, not weaklings. Today's Thursday, September 18th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And this is where we want people to come to get equipped to stand firm, speak truth, and fight back against the culture that is trying to steal your faith, your family, and your freedom. And as we now know, in no uncertain terms, if we didn't already, that the battle that we're in, the war that we're in, is not just political, it is spiritual. And this war does not take a day off. So we're done pulling punches. We're done pulling punches. The gloves are off, and we are getting after it. So be sure to follow us on all the socials at Mission Ready Men, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social, and be sure to also subscribe to our Rumble and YouTube channels. We are up to 621 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you all very much for that. We really appreciate it. And if you want to let everyone know that you are in this fight to win it, go ahead and grab your gear at missionreadymen.com. Click Shop 7 Armors and check out all the great designs that we have there that let you proudly show your faith and your patriotism. All right, y'all, it is go time. Before I get into everything that I had previously prepared, I want to talk about the shooting that happened in York County, Pennsylvania, where we had 5 officers shot following up on a domestic investigation. There's not a lot of details available. I didn't see a whole lot just before I came on live, but we do know that 5 officers were shot, 3 were killed, 2 were wounded, and the officers did take out the suspect. We don't know why he did it. I'm sure we will find out more as the investigation progresses. But in the immediate aftermath, the schools in the area were locked down. That was lifted. This happened yesterday. The police, state police, are leading the investigation. The current, we don't know a whole lot about why he did what he did. The names of the officers, to my knowledge, have not yet been released, and the motive, the reason why he laid in wait for these officers to show up, is under investigation. But I have no doubt that the American Pravda will find a way to make this gunman the victim in this situation. I have absolutely no doubt of that. But I just wanted to make mention of that shooting of the police officers, the tragic death of 3 of them. 2 of them are in critical condition. So I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that as we get started here today. But let's go ahead and get after it, because there's a lot that we need to talk about here today. And I know it seems like talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination is dragging on for some people. I have seen some people, even people on our side of the aisle, talk about how it's time to move on. I completely disagree. And I'm not saying we have to keep going over all of the details and keep rehashing things, but the story is ongoing. The investigation is ongoing, and there are things to talk about, and I'm going to talk about them. Um, and of course, I'm going to talk about them um, from a biblical perspective, and especially given who Charlie Kirk was, that's especially appropriate. But the something that I've said quite often, and I don't like using the word hate. As a Christian, I'm not supposed to hate anybody, and I don't. We're called to love our neighbors and pray for our enemies. And so the individuals that we're going to talk about, I don't hate, but the institution of the media, the American Pravda, ever how much you think you hate them, hate it, it's not enough. It is not enough. I call them the American Pravda. BZ calls them the uh, American media maggots, which is funny. I like that. But if Pravda from the old uh, Eastern European days, um, if Pravda and TMZ had a love child, it would look a lot like CNN and BSDNC. So we know that Charlie Kirk was assassinated tragically, um, but instead of sober-minded, fact-based coverage, the American Pravda is massaging the killer's image, softening the killer's image, blaming the victim, blaming Charlie Kirk, saying that he brought it on himself, and then has the nerve to scold conservatives like me and you for noticing the ridiculousness with which they are reporting on this. They are just like with the killer of Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione. Now I haven't seen Taylor Lorenz swoon over this guy, over this killer, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it coming. I wouldn't be surprised if in some dark corner of Blue Cry or something like that, there was somebody, a group of somebodies who were feeling that way. But ABC, um, they have a reporter by the name of Matt Gutman, and he, in his reporting, said that the killer's texts were touching, and the I mean, read the room. Not that anyone in the American Pravda is even really capable of that. Um, Probably because they know their audience is going to be sympathetic to the nonsense that he's spouting. But um, he, yeah, he said that the killer's texts were touching. Let's see if I can pull that up because just wow. It, anyway, let's just go ahead and do this because this is absolutely insane.
And I think one of the things that the attorney here made a very fine point about is that a lot of these charges, 7 charges, were aggravated because children were present. Children witnessed this. Children were put in harm's way. And that was something that
Yeah, his daughter being one of them.
obviously is aggravating here, and that's one of the reasons that the suspect, in addition to the alleged murder being political in nature, is facing the death penalty. They're going for the death penalty. And on the other hand, there is this duality of a very a portrait of a very human person, a very human experience from this entire family. As you mentioned it, the mother who essentially discovered that it was her son who had done this, the kid who had got a 34 out of 36 on the ACTs, who had a 4.0, who got a full ride to college here, that kid was the one who allegedly perpetrated.
Are you hearing this? Now, of course, I have the utmost sympathy for his mother. His mother, I'm sure, had no inkling that her son could ever do something so heinous. I feel terrible for the family. What do you hear how he's the title of this show, American Pravda, Sympathy for the Devil. That's exactly what we're seeing right here.
Saw those pictures and said, identified him essentially. And then those text messages, and I don't think I've ever experienced a press conference in which we've read text messages that are so fulsome, so robust, so apparently, allegedly self-incriminating, and yet on the other hand, so touching, right? With the suspect reaching out to his roommate, who is allegedly his boyfriend, who we understand identified as male at birth, now identifies as female. And the terminology he used, he was trying to protect him. He kept calling him my love. My reason for doing this is to protect you, but also asking him to delete the messages and not speak to law enforcement. So
this, how do you even respond to that? How do you even respond to that? They are desperate to humanize this kid, this monster. It's amazing. I mean, even I know that the American Pravda is demonic. I know that but this even surprised me a little bit. It's just, and it's because I don't have sympathy for the devil. So to hear this kind of love letter from the American Pravda, despite all of everything I know about them, it was jarring. Wow. And I know a lot of people feel the same way, but it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it gets worse. It actually gets worse if you can believe it, because CNN, yes, of course. I know that comes as no surprise to anyone, but CNN dragged Montel Williams onto the set, and he had an even worse take than Matt Gutman did. And just listen to this dribble.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up?
Why, beyond why they dragged Montel Williams into this, why is he showing so much sympathy for this kid, this guy, this killer, this monster? It's beyond me.
Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
guys,
Have you been paying attention to any of this? You honestly believe that there was no political motivation whatsoever? You can't possibly believe that. If you do, you are an even bigger moron than I ever thought. And I have thought you are a huge moron for decades now. Wow. But of course, Scott Jennings is on the scene to set everyone straight.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out.
There you go. Just
The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascists on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me.
No, Montel, they're not two different things. Not at all. I know you want them to be. I know you desperately want them to be, but they're not.
So I'm just telling you, there is an effort. There was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face.
Exactly. Exactly. It's staring us in the face.
Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
Talking about
That's what happened. Leave it to Scott Jennings to set everyone straight. They're desperately trying to humanize this guy. And they only do it. They only do it when it serves their narrative. Imagine if someone had, and I'm not advocating for this, I'm not wishing for this, I'm just using it as an example. Imagine if someone had gunned down AOC. They would be demanding the death penalty before the ink was even dry on the warrant. You know it, I know it, and they know it. But and there would be no effort of any kind to try and humanize someone who did that. We know this. We know this. But they are desperate to humanize this killer. And I despite everything I know, and I've said this before, despite everything I know about the American Pravda, this is still shocking. We have the downplaying of this. We have the attempts to humanize and soften this killer's image. And then we have, on the other hand, the people who are blaming Charlie Kirk. It started with Matthew Dowd saying that Charlie Kirk's rhetoric contributed to his death. And then and that refrain has been played ad nauseum for the past week. And Caitlin Collins and other leftists have, I think even Abby Phillip at one point said that we don't know what the motive is. Scott Jennings just laid out what the motive was. He told us, the killer himself told us what his motivation was. And to hear these attempts to downplay that is just amazing to me. But Caitlin Collins said in her interview with Ted Cruz that we don't know, we don't have a motive. And of course, Ted Cruz, in true Ted Cruz fashion, said that is objectively false. Let's take a look at that.
You said a lot there, and we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the
Of
FBI
course we
director
know.
said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know.
We don't have a motive yet.
What's
Really?
happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law
He
enforcement,
just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said, and I said
Exactly
law
what you
enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
Actually,
the
they
shooter
have.
said to
They've said that
family
he was a
members
left-wing
and to
activist who
roommates.
hated Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal
They
argument
have. That
than what you're
statement is
talking
false.
about. And you're not even
What you just said is
arguing
false.
about the facts
What
here.
you just
because
said is false,
Senator,
Caitlin.
no.
Caitlin, facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement because what you said is factually
Senator, with all
false.
due respect,
law enforcement.
with all due respect,
Okay,
you're
so you don't
putting
want
a lot of
facts. Okay,
statements
go ahead.
that
Go
I
ahead.
did
Give your
not
speech.
say. And I want to get back to.
Of course she doesn't want facts. She's on CNN. They are allergic to facts over there.
We just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of
law
the show,
enforcement
what we
has
learned
not
from
laid out a
prosecutors
motive. That
today.
is
And we just spoke to
objectively
the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That
So
is
the
objectively false.
They
What
have not
you are
said a
saying
concrete
is
motive of
objectively
exactly
false,
what it was.
and
They've laid out
CNN should
every
not be
evidence that we
engaged in
know so far.
misinformation. Caitlin, answer my question.
It's not
Have you seen the
misinformation,
polling
Senator.
that shows
You-
the vast majority of
you were
Democrats
taking what I
believe
said
this murderer is a
about
Republican and a
that.
Trump supporter? Have you seen that polling?
Let me get back to my questions, though, Senator, because the question here
You're not going to answer that
was
question?
actually
Are you going to answer
what
that
you were
question?
saying
You
about
have seen that
investigations
polling.
that you'd like to see.
So you're not going to
Senator,
answer the
I'm the
question.
one asking the questions here, and the question.
No,
about
we're having a
you saying that
conversation. I
right-wing or
understand
left-wing groups
that
need to
you
be
want to
investigated
say
for
things
where
that
the
are
financing
factually
is
false,
coming.
and then you
Do
don't
you believe
actually
that
want the
right-wing
facts.
groups also
You don't
need to be
actually want the facts
investigated?
laid out.
No, she doesn't want the facts laid out. Because as I said, they are allergic to facts on CNN. They are allergic to facts in the American Pravda at large. And as far as they're concerned, the killer could put out a video saying, I did it, and I did it for this reason. And they still wouldn't agree that there was an actual motive. They would still question it. They would still just shrug and say, we don't know. We have no idea why you did. And based on everything that the district attorney laid out in his press conference, that's essentially what he did. He essentially screamed, I did it. But we don't know why. We ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's right, BZ. They will lie to you to your face and call you crazy. Yes, they will. I mean, just the gaslighting is off the charts with these people. And the other aspect of this is that the people who have been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and of course the American Pravda will tell you that that's not happening. That if it is happening, it's a tiny percentage of the people on some dark corners of the internet. I mean, I got into it with a couple of people about this, and that was their response. It's not a majority. It's not even a significant portion. It's statistically insignificant. It might as well be zero. There are no one, according to them, no one on the left is celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. But because, and that's completely shown to be completely false by the number of people who have been fired for celebrating his death. And for those people who have been, they're saying that it's a free speech issue. They're saying that that people who have been fired or disciplined or whatever for celebrating his death is their freedom of speech, their First Amendment rights are being violated. So, as far as they're concerned, the true victim of this thing is not the man who lost his life, but it's the assistant professor who can't tweet LOL about it anymore because reasons. I mean, when cancel culture was in full swing, the left's favorite refrain was freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. They would dig up tweets from somebody 10 years ago when they were a teenager, when they were 12, 13, 14 years old. And we can argue about whether or not they should have been on Twitter at that age anyway. But they would dig up these tweets from these kids saying ridiculous things that kids do. I am so glad that I grew up when none of the stuff that I did could be saved for posterity like that. Wow. Anyway, but they would dig up these tweets and these social media posts from these people from when they were kids saying ridiculous, stupid things, and then get them fired from their jobs as adults. And they would, and that would be their thing. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Well, here you go. Right back at you. You celebrate the death of somebody, and regardless of whether or not the person was a conservative or a liberal, if you celebrate the death of somebody, whatever happens to you at your job, whatever, you deserve it. Period. End of story. And I defy you to find a conservative who, when a leftist suffered some kind of tragedy, was killed, died, whatever, I defy you to find a conservative who celebrated that. I defy you to find a montage of hundreds and thousands of tweets, Facebook posts, whatever the case, of conservatives. I mean, there were enough blue cry posts to use as wallpaper on your computer. That's how many there were. There were thousands. And thousands of people have suffered consequences from it. But now, all of a sudden, now that's a violation of free speech. Jimmy Kimmel. We just found out he got suspended for his ridiculous rant about Charlie Kirk, saying that spreading misinformation, saying that the killer was MAGA, and Sinclair and the other broadcast network, I forget which one it is, I'm drawing a blank right now, they went to ABC and said, we're not having it. All the affiliates. And I'm sure sponsors were contacted as well. And because Jimmy Kimmel was barely breaking even at best, they decided it wasn't enough and it wasn't worth it. And they suspended him. And he's probably not going to be back. Consequences. Not cancel culture, consequences. He has every right to say exactly what he said. He can say it. Nobody's saying he can't. But these are the consequences for saying it. And I know people are saying that the government, because the government, the FCC, made some kind of threat that, FCC commissioner made some kind of threat that that it's an infringement on his First Amendment rights. No. Because the company that he worked for decided that it wasn't worth having him as an employee, having him do that show. And they pulled it. Now, do I wish the FCC commissioner hadn't said that? Maybe. Maybe he should have kept a lid on that. But the fact remains, it's still a private business. And so if a private business decides that what you say publicly, they don't want that representing their business, consequences. You lose your job because you said something stupid online and your company doesn't like it. Sorry about your bad luck. But I'm not, because those are the consequences. Especially if you signed a contract and there's a clause in your contract that says if you do certain things, if you behave a certain way, then you are subject to termination. And in most states, for most jobs, it's employment at will. They can fire you for any reason at any time. If you say something stupid like that, consequences. Bye-bye. No sympathy for the devil here. None. Sorry. Not sorry. But even in spite of all of these people who are getting fired and dealing with the consequences of their words and actions, there are people on the left who will still try to gaslight you and say that it's not happening. I talked about the people who say that it's such a small percentage of people as to be statistically insignificant. And BSDNC has one of those people on their, well, they have several people. But this one, what's her name? This is Drosny or something like that. I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. But here she is spewing that nonsense.
I think if you look across media generally, you have seen a lot of people trying to grapple with Charlie Kirk's legacy and what that is as a right-wing agitator and as a provocateur and as, a
There's that thing again. Agitator, provocateur. He got what was coming to him, I guess.
Strategist and the most important GOP figure besides Donald Trump, arguably ever. And so, or right now. And so there's a lot of grappling to do, but to suggest that the internet is cheering for this is just the opposite, total opposite of what's actually happening.
It is horrible.
I think if you look across media.
The opposite of what's happening. I mean, it's almost comical. The level of gaslighting and even cognitive dissonance that these people are suffering from is just mind-boggling. But the double standards that they employ are ridiculous because they're trying to reframe this as cancel culture. When it wasn't that long ago, and as I said earlier, it wasn't that long ago when they were saying that it was consequence. And now that people on their side are dealing with consequences, now all of a sudden it's a free speech issue, because I guess cheering an assassination of somebody is just like preferring Coke over Pepsi. It's just an opinion, so you can't judge that. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying. The compassion that these American Pravda propagandists are displaying for the ghouls, the absolute monsters who commit these crimes, is unbelievable. And yet they have absolutely none for Charlie Kirk, his widow Erica Kirk, his kids, They have absolutely no sympathy for her and what she's going through, for what they're going through. It's astounding. Absolutely astounding. The Guardian did an op-ed. I thought I had it, but I don't have it up in front of me. But they frame his killing as a tragedy, but admonish us not to rewrite his controversial past or something along those lines. So basically, yeah, their take is, yeah, he's dead, but he said some things and tweeted some things we don't like. So, oh well. I mean, these people would probably, no, not probably. These people would say that Abraham Lincoln brought his assassination on himself for signing the Emancipation Proclamation without bipartisan support. They would. They absolutely would. This monster gets poetic praise from the American Pravda, and the victim gets blamed. And the American Pravda, somebody in the American Pravda, some propagandist is probably going to get a Pulitzer for their reporting on it. It's unbelievable. Charlie Kirk was murdered for saying what he believed, standing on the truth, and the press would rather canonize his killer rather than confront that stark reality. Believable. Yep, that's right, BZ. They lie right to your face and hope and believe that you're that stupid. They count on it. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And just to drive that point home before we take a quick word from our sponsor, just to circle back to the whole, we don't know what the motive is. He said in a note, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. But the motive is unclear. He spelled it out, but they refuse to see the motive. Now, I was going to get into all the charges and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna play the video of him reading all that. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I mean, the fact that we know everything that he said and all the tweets and everything is fine. But I just found it odd that he actually laid out all of that. Now, there could be a whole lot more that he held back, maybe. But I just found it odd that he laid out all of that, because there was a lot. And it seems like, and again, there could be a whole lot more that they held back that we don't know, that could render what he did say irrelevant in terms of tainting the jury pool and things like that. I don't know, but I just found it strange that he did that. But he laid out all the charges: aggravated murder, firearm discharge obstruction, witness tampering for telling his boyfriend to get rid of the exchange, and then the violent offense in the presence of a child. And of course, they're seeking the death penalty. Good. They should seek the death penalty, and going back to my previous point for a second, even if he confessed, there's still going to be a trial because they are seeking the death penalty, and the jury is going to have to decide whether or not he deserves a death penalty, and the lawyer is obviously going to argue on some points that the jury pool is tainted because of everything that was laid out. If that, and as I said, if there's more, great. But he, although he didn't confess to law enforcement, everything that we did hear from the DA is a confession. His boyfriend says, "You weren't the one who did it," and he responds, "I am." He says he had enough of his hatred, meaning Charlie Kirk, and some hate can't be negotiated out. And we don't know what his motive was. Really. He was planning it for over a week. And he laid out his motive. But Caitlin Collins doesn't know what his motive is. Just, wow. When the left has been calling conservatives Nazis, fascists, homophobes, transphobes, all the ists, all the phobes, for years. And they say that the words that we use are violent. So if the words that I'm saying right now and the words that we've been saying are violent, then actual violence becomes justice. Am I wrong? Actual violence becomes justice if the things that I'm saying are considered violence to these people. When words are called violence, violence becomes justice. And that's the poison that the American Pravda is feeding us on a daily basis. All right, y'all. I do want to get a word in from our sponsor. And I also want to talk about something else. Because, well, before we get to that, let's just go ahead and get to our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's episode is Patriot Mobile. And now more than ever, votes just are not enough. You need to make sure that your money, your resources go to companies that fight for what you believe in. We switched to Patriot Mobile America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and we could not be happier with that service. They just don't talk about values and the things that we believe in. A portion of every dollar that you spend with them goes to pro-life, pro-family, pro-freedom organizations. So right now, you can get a free monthly service when you go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call and text you make every month. Switch to patriotmobile.com today. Something else that I wanted to mention. I don't have an overlay or anything like that, but yesterday was Constitution Day, and my dad's organization, Stand, Staying True to America's National Destiny, did a 10-hour marathon, or stand-a-thon, as they called it, talking about the Constitution, because September 17th is the day, September 17th, 1787 is the day that the Constitution was signed. Of course, it was ratified later, but it was signed on September 17th. And it's been found that not a lot of people actually know that. Not a lot of people know that September 17th is the day that the Constitution was signed, and it is perhaps the second most important day in our country's history. And so STAND, my dad's organization, they have a lot of projects going on. I mentioned America's Forgotten Children in one of my previous shows, and that's one of their projects as well, where they talk about all the children who were lost to gun violence in the inner cities. And it's just a great organization to support. So I'll have some overlays and some information to show you going forward with that. But go ahead and check out Stand. It's standamerica.us, and check out all the great things that they're doing over there. All right. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean on With the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I believe he is close to making his triumphant return to the airwaves or to the internet, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure if it's going to be tomorrow, but he will be back soon. So we're praying for that and looking forward to his return. And then we have BZ, who's in our chat with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. So be sure to like and subscribe to all of those great shows, and pray that we all have a big breakthrough. Like I said, we're up to 621 subscribers now. We're trucking right along with the subscribers. So thank you all for that. It took us a long time to get to 500, and now we're I won't say we're cruising, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So be sure to share this with everyone that you know, so that we can get the word out to as many people as we possibly can. All right, y'all. Kash Patel was on the Hill the past couple of days, and he had some fiery exchanges with some some senators and Congress people. I don't have time to get into all of them, but I do want to get into some of them. and I think I have them. I thought I did. Yeah, here we go. He got into it with some senators, Blumenthal, who accused him of lying, even though this is the same guy who um, claimed he was a Vietnam vet when he wasn't. So he has no standing to call anyone a liar. But of course, the American Pravda won't call him out on that. So we will. So let's take a look at that one, because that one I think was pretty good. It's a longer clip. We're probably not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to get to some of it because Patel is great at shutting these people down. I sometimes wish he would rein it in just a little, because I think they're baiting him to get into some of these exchanges. But nevertheless, these exchanges are great. But let's check this out.
One from the White House contacted you about personnel decisions.
I completely disagree with your entire premise that I have lied or am misleading the FBI. If I were, the results that I announced today by the men and women of the FBI and the historic records we are doing to keep this country safe would not be possible. The men and women of the FBI are responding to our leadership and this administration's priorities. The only way people get terminated at the FBI is if they fail to meet the muster of the job and their duties. And that is where I...
Blumenthal was asking about political retribution for all the agents that were let go once he took over. And of course, they're trying to frame it as political retribution because they participated in investigations into Trump. But I think he handled this very well.
will leave it. And you accusing me of lying is something I don't take lightly, but
I really thought when I first heard this, I really thought he was going to bring up the stolen ballot thing, but
I'm not going to get into a tit for tat with you.
Well, let me just ask you to answer my question. Has anyone from the White House contacted you about personnel decisions?
Generally speaking, we always discuss with the White House, OMB, during the budget process, how many personnel we need, who we need where.
Answer is yes.
For budgetary purposes and
to fire people, agents, because they participated in investigations of the president?
I don't receive directions to do that.
Has anyone
I make the
suggested
decisions.
it? Has anyone asked you to do it? The best information is yes, you've taken suggestions and directions from the White House in firing qualified agents.
Any termination at the FBI was a decision that I made based on the evidence that I have as a director of the FBI, and it's my job, and I'm not going to shy away from it. And as you stated, those are allegations, and that is an ongoing litigation. So they'll have their day in court, and so will we.
yeah, I think he handled that well. BZ says, I don't think they're necessarily baiting. They're simply that biased and assumptive that they possess the proverbial catbird seat. Yeah, I'm sure that there's some of that. And the only reason why I say that they're baiting is because there's a couple of exchanges where there was such a heated back and forth that I think the American Pravda would spin that as Patel not having the temperament to effectively do this job and things like that. I don't believe that by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that by engaging the way that he did plays into that narrative that they have a little bit. But here was another one, and this is the one of the ones that comes to mind when I talk about that and the baiting, because this one was rough, and at some points it's even kind of hard to hear because they're going back and forth, and there were a few others that were like that as well, but yeah, let's get into this too.
You think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements
Oh,
of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am
The
doing is
most-
protecting
the
this country,
most-
providing
the most
historic
significant
reform,
witness-
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the likes
files
of you.
cover-up
And we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not
I'm
surprised
not
that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well,
A political buffoon at best. That was whether you think they baited him or not. That was a great line.
you can take an internet troll.
Take
and
it
make-
to
you
the
can
bank
take
that
an
the
internet-
FBI is
you can
protecting this
make an
country
internet troll,
and the state and
the FBI
citizens of the
director
California.
will
We are
always
bringing
have nothing
historic.
more.
Look at Adam Schiff. Now, back when Bribin was in office, and we had these hearings with Alejandro Mayorkas, I said that he had the most punchable face in politics. Well, he's not in politics anymore. And not that I would, but I think that mantle now has fallen to Adam Schiff.
Get an internet
Point of
troll.
order.
I mean, look at him. He was smirking and grinning the entire time. I think he was enjoying what was happening.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of this
33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now. That was awesome. That was awesome. Because Adam Schiff is a buffoon. He is an utter buffoon. But when he went to the House the next day, he was in with in that committee, and Jim Jordan asked him some questions, rapid fire style, and this was great. This was I give Jim Jordan and Patel a lot of credit right here. Check this out.
Director, yes or no, is the FBI still spying on parents at school board meetings?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Catholics?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still spying on President Trump?
I don't believe so.
Is the FBI still censoring Americans?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans for shopping at Cabela's or purchasing Bibles?
Nobody is targeted for their faith.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans who are pro-life?
Nobody is targeting anyone for their beliefs.
Is the FBI still cooking the books on crime data?
The crime data is real.
Is the FBI still purging agents for conservative viewpoints?
No one at the FBI has asked their viewpoints on politics.
Is the FBI still labeling the Betsy Ross flag, the flag of the American Revolution, a hate symbol?
No.
Well, maybe that's why you've been able to, what was the number? 23,000 bad guys you've arrested, a huge increase from the same time period in the previous administration. I think you said 1,400 predators, 4,000 children rescued. Were those the facts?
4,700, 35% increase on children rescued.
Yeah. And you got the guy that, Abbey Gate?
We got the Abbey Gate guy.
We had a guy from the 4th District of Ohio who lost his life there serving our country. We appreciate that. Maybe when you're not focused on politics, you can actually do what the FBI is supposed to do. Go get the bad guys, right?
That's what the men and women of the FBI do.
I mean, succinct, to the point, and he just made them all look so stupid. So the FBI is no longer being weaponized to go after political opponents, despite what the left would have you believe. The FBI has been political for a long time, and I don't think that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going to turn that around and completely eliminate that. Completely eliminate that in 9 months. I don't even think it's going to happen in 4 years. In the 4 years that they will be at the helm of the FBI, it's going to take 8 years of J.D. Vance in charge, and then another probably 8 years of another conservative in charge and conservative leadership at the FBI to get everything turned around, to get rid of all the lifelong bureaucrats and left-wing operatives that are currently entrenched in the FBI. And across all the other agencies as well, not just the FBI. FBI is just the most prominent right now and the most well-known, but I'm sure all the other law enforcement agencies that that are headquartered in Washington will have to be purged in a similar manner. They tried to ambush Kash Patel. This isn't about Patel himself. This is about the FBI being a weapon of the deep state, of the swamp. And they tried to get him. I don't have those sound bites readily available, but they tried to get him on the way that he handled Charlie Kirk's assassination, getting information out and having that information be incorrect. They claim that it undermined trust in the FBI. Well, I got news for them. Nobody trusted the FBI. People still don't trust the FBI. They may trust Patel and Bongino, but they're two guys. They're two guys dealing with a sea of, and there are I'm sure some frontline agents who are just doing their job and aren't involved in the political machinations of the seventh floor and all that. I get that. But they're just two guys that still have to deal with all of that nonsense. And the fact that Patel posted some information that turned out to be wrong, I don't think undermined what little trust people had in the FBI. I think it was just him trying to, and as he said in one of the sessions, that he just wants there to be more transparency than there has been. And I get that. And do I wish he had been right when he first posted that? Of course. I'm sure he does too. But at the end of the day, the bad guy's in custody, and they have to move on. They have to get this guy prosecuted, and everyone else that they've locked up. But they tried to ambush him, and he, I think, masterfully sidestepped that ambush. But I will, the fact that they're no longer calling parents no longer calling parents domestic terrorists because they want to be involved in their child's education, I think is a big one. Honestly. But anyway, I want to move on. We got a few minutes left, and there's a few things I want to get to. and if we have time, react to a couple of things, a couple of other videos that I saw. But I talk a lot about how the UK has fallen. I talk a lot about how Islam is trying to take over. We have Mamdani in New York. We have that other guy in Minnesota. Can't remember his name. Don't really care. And we have Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib in Congress. And the censure thing for Omar didn't pass because we had Republicans cross the aisle and vote with the Democrats. I'm not too concerned about that. I wish they could have censored her. It's theater. It really wouldn't have meant anything anyway. I think the best way to censure her is to vote her out of office. But she's from a very Islamic district, and they're not likely to vote her out. So here we are. But so yeah, we have London and all these Londonistan, and then we've talked about how in Florida and Texas, Islam is taking over. They have essentially completely taken over in Dearborn, Michigan. And the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, a guy by the name of Abdullah Hammoud, he is the city's mayor and also acting as a bouncer. If you go to a public city council meeting in Dearborn, he is very likely to tell you that you're not welcome. There was a guy by the name of Ted Barham who was told exactly that. So democratically elected, quote unquote, democratically elected Hammoud told a taxpaying resident that they don't belong in the city council meeting room and that he was not welcome in the city. I mean, that just screams inclusive leadership, does it not? They're all about inclusivity, but only when it goes one way. So I want to play some of that because that is, and I want to get into another thing too because it's all coming to a head, and the fact that we actually have a city like an American city that is completely overrun with a population of people that hate us is, to use one of the less favorite words, problematic. But let's take a listen to this.
How two intersections have been named after Mr. Osama Siblani. Yeah, my concern is he's a promoter of Hezbollah and Hamas.
I'm going to get into who he is here in a second, but just listen to this.
He talks about how the blood of the martyrs, I'm quoting, irrigates the land of Palestine. And then further quotes, he talks about how the terrorists should strike them with knives and with their bare hands, and they're victorious. And he also encourages the use of rockets over there. And then another quote from 2022, "We are the Arabs who are going to lift Palestinians all the way to victory. Whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin. So the reason why I mentioned this is that it sounds like he could be inciting violence in Michigan.
Sounds like that's exactly what he was doing.
Whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin. Believe me, everyone should fight within his means. They will fight with stones, others will fight with guns, others will fight with planes, drones, and rockets. Others will fight with their voices, and others will fight with their hands and say, "Free, free Palestine."
So the guy that he's quoting, his name is Osama Siblani. He is a publisher of an Arab publication in Michigan. And he's I mean, obviously, you heard that, those quotes. He's a supporter of Hamas. And it's astounding to me that we've gotten to this point where this is the norm for this area. We have a Muslim mayor, and we're gonna get to his words here in a second. We have a Muslim sympathizer publishing with a publication that sympathizes with Islamic terrorists, and they named a street after him. They named a street after this guy, and this person who's a Christian had the nerve to object to it, and this is what the mayor had to say in response.
Have for you is to not drive on Warren Avenue.
That sort of thing, but I would like to encourage peace.
The best suggestion I have for you is to not drive on Warren Avenue, or to close your eyes while you're doing it. His name is up there.
Not drive on Warren Avenue or close your eyes while you're doing it. Wow.
And I, spoke at a ceremony celebrating it because he's done a lot for this community. And I think it's quite hypocritical to know that you're approaching this podium when you yourself have videos on YouTube standing in front of my mosque saying the cruelest of things about Muslims.
You mean the truth. Don't get it twisted. That's what he was doing.
About the religion of Islam, because you are a bigot, and you are a racist, and you are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor.
Okay, let's address this Islamophobe thing. They hate us. They want to kill us. They say death to Israel and death to America. They call us the great Satan. If you are afraid of Muslims, that is not an irrational fear, because they tell us that they want to kill us. So there is no Islamophobic, that doesn't exist.
You are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Coexistence, really? That's where you're going to go with this. Coexistence. You want to kill us. You want to wipe Israel off the map. You say death to America. The people you support chant death to America, and you have the nerve to let spill out of your face coexistence? Really?
You're somebody who tries to preach it, but in fact you do everything but that. So I just want to put that on the record.
Oh, it's on the record there, buddy. It is on the record. Just, wow. Now, this guy, Osama Siblani, like I said, he's a publisher of a publication in Dearborn. Let's take a look at this real quick. He's praised terrorists as heroes, threatened to send Israeli Jews back to Poland, accompanied Gretchen Whitmer on an official state trip to the UAE and Bahrain. So the city of Dearborn on Monday honored the Lebanese-born Siblani, a prominent anti-Israel activist who founded the Arab American news outlet, with a plaque bearing his name at the intersection of Warren Avenue and Chase Road, a location home to Middle Eastern-style bakeries, a hookah lounge, and the Islamic Center of Detroit. And this is the sign. Osama Siblani. So the fact that we are allowing this blows my mind. And I honestly don't know what we can do about it at this point, because we have let it reach this pitch, short of sending in the National Guard or the Army and rounding them all up and booting them out of the country, which I'm willing to have that discussion. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of them are probably actual American citizens who were born here, so obviously that becomes problematic. But I don't know what we can do, but something has to be done. Something absolutely has to be done. Because this can't go on, because there's another clip I want to show you. And again, we're not going to play the whole thing, but this is what happens in the city of Dearborn, Michigan.
هو يوم عاشورائي طويل ذكور وإناث شيبا.
Hear all that. This is taking place on the streets of Dearborn, Michigan. This is not the Middle East. This is Dearborn, Michigan. Just I don't understand why this is allowed to happen. Look at that. Look at that. That is an American city being overrun. Not being overrun, has been overrun. I think the population of Dearborn, I think, is close to 60% Muslim. And I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's just more of the same of that. But so we got to do something about that. So, and this goes back to the free speech issue, because that Christian pastor, he pointed out that he's actually a pastor in Dearborn, was told he was not welcome because he had a differing opinion based on religious conviction. Now, just flip that for a second. Imagine if somebody wanted to name uh, a corner in Arizona after Charlie Kirk. And a Muslim went into the, or not even a Muslim, let's say a gender deluded person who thought he was a woman went into the city council meeting and said, I object to this because I'm a lunatic. And the mayor said, you're not welcome here, and I'm going to throw a parade when you move out of this city. Can you imagine the firestorm that would have erupted, that would erupt in such an instance? But because people are so afraid of Islam, you'll never hear about that in the American Pravda. You'll see it on X. You'll see it on the conservative areas of Facebook. You'll see it on outlets like The Blaze, and actually, I don't even think I saw it on Newsmax, honestly. So, how are we going to resolve this? I don't know. I don't know. But we have a bunch of, well, let's just look at what BZ has to say about it. Because Americans are ignorant, naive, guilty cowards. And a lot of them are. Sadly, a lot of them are. And uneducated. Completely uneducated, miseducated by a system that wants to keep us uneducated and uninformed. And they fight every step of the way to keep it that way. Because an informed, educated populace is a threat to their power. An informed, educated Christian populace is going to call out their sympathy for the devil. All right, y'all. I went a little longer on that than I wanted to, so I'll just leave that there for now. That's all I got. That's all I got for you this time. I will keep trying to make each episode better than the last. If any of what I said hit home for you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share it with everyone that you know. We're not just here to run our mouths and bloviate and opine. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. And if you want some cool gear like this, or any of the other gear that we have, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs we have there that talk about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you, so keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.